Let's recap quickly what we have read so far on the second subsection of the first chapter, the tribulations of unreflective living. The first sutta that we read, the dart of painful feeling, explains that while we, the worldling, experiences painful feeling, we feel two feelings, a bodily one and a mental one. But the noble disciple, the instructed noble disciple, they only experience a bodily pain, but not the mental pain. The second sutta that we read, the vicissitudes of life, is about the 8 worldly conditions, or sometimes translated as the 8 worldly winds. When we, the worldlings, encounter these 8, gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, we would become elated and dejected. But the instructed noble disciples remain equanimous. They are not affected by these 8 worldly conditions. The third sutta that we read comes from the angle of the 5 aggregates. Agitation through clinging and non-agitation through clinging. Because we, the worldlings, cling to the 5 aggregates, that's why we are agitated. The 5 aggregates are form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. While the instructed noble disciples has reflected and skilled in the Dharma and disciplined in the Dharma, they are not agitated because they are not clinging to the 5 aggregates. So that's the summary of what we have read so far in the second subsection of the first chapter, the tribulations of unreflected living. Any questions or comments before we continue to read the third section, A World in Turmoil? Any questions or comments? If not, let's continue to read. The first sutta is titled The Origin of Conflict. The Brahmin Arama Danda approached the Venerable Mahakachana, exchanged friendly greetings with him, and asked him, why is it, Master Kachana, that Khatiyas fight with Khatiyas, Brahmins with Brahmins, and householders with householders? It is Brahmin because of attachment to sensual pleasures, adherence to sensual pleasures, fixation on sensual pleasures, addiction to sensual pleasures, obsession with sensual pleasures, holding firmly to sensual pleasures, that Khatiyas fight with Khatiyas, Brahmins with Brahmins, and householders with householders. Why is it, Master Kachana, that ascetics fight with ascetics? It is Brahmin because of attachment to fields, adherence to fields, fixation on fields, addiction to fields, obsession with fields, holding firmly to fields, that ascetics fight with ascetics. This is taken from Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 2. And Book of 2, 4, and number 6. Let's take a look at footnotes number 12. Mahakachana was the disciple who excelled in giving detailed analysis of the Buddha's brief statement. For an account of his life, and teachings. C. Nyanaponika and Hecker, great disciples of the Buddha, chapter 6. So some sutta you will notice it is not spoken by the Buddha, but the chief disciples of the Buddha. In this case, it's Venerable Mahakachana. Who is Venerable Mahakachana? Here the footnotes mention is one of the chief disciple who is actually in giving detailed analysis of the Buddha. Okay, Buddha's brief statement. So the Buddha maybe just say a few words or few sentences, and then some venerables, when the Buddha is not available, they go to Mahakachana if they don't understand these brief statements, and then Venerable Mahakachana would explain, give a detailed analysis of this brief statement. So this is the role of Venerable Mahakachana. In summary, most people fight because of sensual pleasures, but for ascetics, they fight because of differences in views. Okay, that's it for this first sutta, the origin of conflict. Any questions or comment? If not, we can continue read the second sutta. Sister Saikyam, would you like to read?
2.1 Sakka, ruler of the Devas, asked the Blessed One, beings wish to live without hate, harming, hostility, or enmity. They wish to live in peace, yet they live in hate, harming one another, hostile, and as enemies. By what fetters are they bound, sir, that they live in such a way? The Blessed One said, ruler of the Devas, it is the bonds of envy and niggardliness that bind beings so that although they wish to live without hate, hostility, or enmity, and to live in peace, yet they live in hate, harming one another, hostile, and as enemies. This was the Blessed One's reply, and Sakka, delighted, exclaimed, so it is, Blessed One, so it is, Fortunate One. Through the Blessed One's answer, I have overcome my doubt and gotten rid of uncertainty.
Thanks, Sister Sai. This question is so relevant at the, with regards to the current affairs. Let me highlight this. Oh, we all wish to live without hate, harming, hostility, or enmity, but we all wish to live in peace, but yet we live in hate, harming one another, hostile, and as enemies. So Sakka asked the Buddha, why Buddha, why? Then the Buddha starts with the first reason. Sakka, ruler of the Devas, it is the bonds of envy and niggardliness. Let me highlight this. That bind beings, even though we wish to live in peace, yet we live in hate. And then the ruler of the Devas, Sakka, is delighted with the first answer of the Buddha. Let's continue reading the second one.
Before you go on, yes. What is niggardliness?
Yeah.
Disregard, is it?
I think it's more like stinginess, but let's take a look at the dictionaries. That's a good question. Thanks for pointing out. Niggardly. First definition, not generous, stingy, meager, scanty. This is niggardliness is just the noun form. Let's take a look at scanty. Small or insufficient in quantity or amount of clothing, revealing skimpy. Yeah, basically stingy. Yeah. Thanks for asking. I didn't highlight that because I have looked up the definition before, yeah, but I forgot others haven't. Any more? Any more difficult words here? Maybe enmity. The state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. For example, enmity between Protestants and Catholics. Family feuds and enmities. And the last word may be fetters. By what fetters they are bound? So the dictionary here says, a chain or manacle used to restrain a prisoner, typically placed around the ankles. Second, a restraint or check on someone's freedom to do something, typically one considered unfair or overly restrictive. So it's like a restraint or a chain that we are bound by. Okay, let's continue reading the next one. Sister Singhui, would you like to read?
Then Saka, having expressed his appreciation, asked another question. But, sir, what gives rise to envy and niggardliness? What is their origin? How are they born? How do they arise? What is present? When what is present do they arise? And when what is absent do they not arise? Envy and niggardliness, ruler of devas, arise from liking and disliking. This is their origin. This is how they are born, how they arise. When these are present, they arise. When these are absent, they do not arise. But, sir, what gives rise to likings and disliking? They arise, ruler of the devas, from desire. And what gives rise to desire? It arises, ruler of devas, from thinking. When the mind thinks about something, desire arises. When the mind thinks of nothing, desire does not arise.
Okay, thanks, Sister Singhui. There's one footnote that I missed to read. Yeah, footnote number 13. Let's take a look. Saka, the ruler of the devas in the Tawatimsa heaven, was a follower of the Buddha. See Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 11. Okay, so Saka continues to ask the question. Starting from envy and niggardliness, the first reason, Saka continues to query, what is their origin? How are they born? How do they arise with regards to envy and niggardliness? And then the Buddha continues the reasoning. Envy and niggardliness first arise from liking and disliking. And then Saka continued to ask, what gives rise to liking and disliking? The Buddha continues, from desire. And then what gives rise to desire? The Buddha asks, from thinking. The Buddha answered, from thinking. Okay, and the next one, so can we get Sister Sherry to read?
Yeah, but sir, what gave rise to thinking? Sorry, actually, I'm using my handphone.
No worries.
But sir, what gave rise to thinking? Thinking, ruler of the devas, arises from elaborated perception and notion. When elaborated perception and notion are present, thinking arises. When elaborated perception and notion are absent, thinking does not arise.
Okay, thanks, Sister Sherry. This is taken from Digha Nikaya 21, Sakha Panyaha Sutta. Let's take a look at footnotes number 14. Papancha Sanya Sankha. The meaning of this obscure compound is not elucidated in the Nikayas. The term seems to refer to perceptions and ideas that have become infected by subjective biases, elaborated by the tendencies to craving, conceit, and distorted views. According to the commentaries, craving, conceit, and views are the three factors responsible for conceptual elaboration, papancha. A detailed study of the expression is in Jnanananda, Concept and Reality in Early Buddhist Thought. This one, if you like to explore in a more technical depth. Basically, at the end of reasoning, the Buddha gives the cause of elaborated perceptions and notions. And what is this elaborated perceptions and notions? The footnotes explain this to be three: craving, conceit, and distorted views. So yeah, so that's it about this sutta. Probably a little bit technical. Any questions or comments?
Brother Marcel, can check on the meaning of conceit. Note 14.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see, conceit. The dictionary definition is excessive pride in oneself. The second definition, a fanciful expression in writing or speech, an elaborate metaphor. The third, an artistic effect or device. The fourth, a fanciful notion. In this context, I would say the first definition is more fitting, excessive pride in oneself. But this is dictionary definition. The Buddhist definition of conceit is actually explained. Let me go back. I can't go back. Explained in chapter 10, I believe. The planes of realizations. In the introduction, somewhere in the introduction, the Bhikkhu Bodhi explains what is actually conceit. The full term is called the conceit I am. Let me scroll through a little bit. Conceit I am. Yeah, this part. So somewhere in the middle, you would see the paragraph starting from this. Since non-returners have eradicated the 5 lower fetters. And in the middle of this paragraph, you will find the term, the conceit I am. And if you recall the table that I shared before, is inside the table. I will show the table later, but let's read a little bit about this. The conceit I am, as me, mana, differs from identity view, the view of self, Sakkaya Ditthi, to which it is partly akin, partly similar. The view of self affirms an enduring self-existing in relation to the 5 aggregates, either as identical with them, or as their inner core, or as their owner and master. but the conceit I am lacks a clear conceptual content. It lurks at the base of the mind as a fake, shapeless, but imperious sense of the I as a concrete reality, though the fear of self is already eliminated at the stage of stream entry. The conceit I am persists in noble disciples even up to the stage of non-returner. So to elaborate, just to show you what the text is actually talking about, is actually part of this table. In the stream enterer, you will see identity view is already eliminated, but conceit is only eliminated at the Arahant level. Yeah, so you can read more on this chapter if you'd like to know more about conceit. That's a good question. Thanks a lot for the question, Sister Billy. How about others? Any questions or comments? Yeah, so this is why it's good to ask questions, because what you don't understand, others actually might not understand too. And because sometimes I don't elaborate because I have read the book before. So I feel like I already know, then I miss that others doesn't know it. And it's also good for me to revise too. Yeah. So thanks for all the questions. Tomorrow we will continue with the sutta, the dark chain of causation. If no more questions or comments, let's do a dedication. 厌消三障就烦恼，厌得智慧真明了。普愿具障悉消除，实是常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。To meet again, we will be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a curious Tuesday ahead. Yeah? Be curious and keep asking questions until we are enlightened. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. See you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.